Hi, this is Jerry Deniston. I wanted to give you a brief overview of what I'm going to cover in the October 23rd webinar that I'm doing for the Maricopa Small Business Development Center. It's on this workbook that I'm going to be covering, and everyone who attends that webinar will get a copy of this workbook. It's about an 8-page workbook with a bonus page on that, and I'm going to go through every single one of these. The whole idea for this is to give you a workbook so that you can do some simple marketing planning without having to do, an intense amount of research. I'm going to talk about different ways and areas where you can gather some of the data that you're going to need, some of the information. But basically, most of this you should be able to fill out on your own as a business owner in order to create some kind of an online plan to get you through the next 3 months, get you into the holiday marketing scene. And if you don't want to do it for the next 3 months, because maybe you've already got those strategies in place and you're beginning to implement your holiday marketing strategies, then you could use this for next year to plan your marketing efforts for all of 2025. It's great for short-term as well as longer-term planning. So basically, I'm going to cover this. The first page really has an instruction area in it where it tells you how to use this workbook. And then the guts of it are here, this planning workbook for any digital marketing project. We'll start with your desired outcomes. What is it you're trying to accomplish? What's that planning horizon? You set a date sometime in the future, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. I'll go into some detail on all of that during the webinar. And then what it is what's your positioning in the marketplace? The next thing is to cover your ideal target customer. And this is an area that I find a lot of people have trouble with, it's really trying to paint a picture of who their ideal customer is, who's the likely person that is going to be purchasing your product or service. I'm going to guess that if you're a business owner, when you started this business or you're just getting the business started, you had an idea in mind of who that individual is that would be interested in purchasing your product or service. It could be someone that's like your neighbor or your family members or a friend, right? So that's the picture that you need to have. That would be your ideal customer. The other area that you need to have an idea of is where they work and where they live. What's the industry they're in? What kind, are they professionals? Are they farmers? That sort of thing. And so we'll cover that in a little bit more detail. And then what are some of the hobbies? What are their interests? I'll get into more detail about that, kinds of questions you need to be asking yourself and or think about asking your customers. The next part of this is to start setting some goals, some very specific goals for financial goals, customer engagement goals, employee satisfaction, and even giving back to the local community, if that's appropriate for you. Then after you've accomplished all of that, you focus on your SWOT, which is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And we'll get into a lot more detail about that and how to identify what those strengths and weaknesses and opportunities or threats that are both internal, things that you can control, and external, things that you have no control over. And this is really, taking a snapshot of where you are today in your business, your team, you as a solopreneur, if that's applicable. And then what are the specific actions, strategies and actions that you need to implement in order to achieve those goals that you set earlier, right? And so we'll cover what some of these strategies and actions might be and what measurements they tie back to, which is what goals, and who's supposed to do that and by when each one of those needs to get accomplished. Even looking at the different social media platforms, if those are applicable to what you're going to do. The bonus page here is something that I recommend you don't touch until you've got that plan in place and you're beginning to implement, because as business continues, opportunities come along. Someone on your team says, hey, I've got this grand idea. Maybe if we did this, we could accomplish X, right? If we did Y, we can accomplish X. Then the next thing to do is to take a look at these questions and look at that opportunity and answer these questions relative to that opportunity. Is it going to help you achieve the goals that you set in place, or is it going to simply be a distraction that's going to get you off course? That's the purpose of this page. Don't use it until you've completed the rest of the pages and you have the plan in place. Or if you've already done a plan, but it's timely because you have an opportunity that you're wrestling with, then you may want to take a look at this page, right? This is the final page in this 9-page workbook. As I said, everyone who attends the webinar on October 23rd, it's at 10 a.m., and it's through this Maricopa Small Business Development Center. Everyone who attends that webinar will get a copy of this workbook to use. And I will cover in a lot more depth how you actually utilize this and what some of the sources, research sources are that you could turn to gather some information. I look forward to seeing you. I'll put the link, the registration link to this in the social post below this video, and hopefully you'll join me on the 23rd.